Here. Mrs. Lopez? Here. Mrs. Frischbacher? Yes. Mr. Phillips?
Here.
Mr. Sanders? Ms. Lopez, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call. Mrs. Douglas? Yes. Mrs. Keys? Yes. Mrs. Lopez? Yes. Mrs. Frischbacher, yes. Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Anderson?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any correspondence, Mrs. Frischbacher? There is none. Okay. All right, moving on to reports and information items. We'll start with the superintendent's report.
Yeah, and I apologize. We are going to move the first item, the presentation of Racial Harmony Awards, to next month, with pushing it up a week than it usually is. The ceremony is actually not until Sunday this week. We always had it the Monday after the ceremony. So they haven't had the ceremony yet, so we're going to recognize those 3 students at the March board meeting. A few items, just an update. Belleville, if you're not familiar, the TIP 3 is expiring. It's been extended before. It's been around for a few decades now. But TIF 3 is a massive TIF district. It encompasses 8 different school districts are in it. Millions of dollars to Belleville's kind of coffers, so to speak. It's done a lot of great public works projects. Helps really fund a lot of the public safety, including fire and police. So it's done a lot, but it's extended, and the mayor has asked the school districts if we will support. But before I say yay and nay, there's a few things I wanted to touch base with you guys, and there's no formal vote or anything on it right now. There's no resolution to support this right now. They may ask us at some point, but right now I think it's just a feeling out of, is there going to be any opposition or a hard no? The issue is in the new, it can only be extended for 12 years too. By law, it only has 12 more years. It could legally be extended. The issue is with this new extension, St. Clair County and SWIC both want a piece of the pie. They have not been in the original agreement, but they're like, if we're going to support this and it's taking tax money away from our entities, we want some of that TIF money as well, which means that the taxing bodies like ourselves will get less under the new agreement. This is an issue, one, just for lost revenue. It's not a huge chunk. We're not reliant on TIF 3 money to keep it, but it's money. The other issue that the TIF 3 itself, in terms of economic development, hasn't done a whole lot for our specific district. So it's done great things, I think, for the city of Belleville, in Main Street and the fire and police, which do impact us. But in terms of West End and Belleville, we haven't seen that economic development. There's another TIF with the Shrine development that has been slow to non-existent to take off and develop. So the issue is the school districts. One, we don't want to say no, we're opposed, because we don't want to be at risk for lack of funding for police, for fire, to the updates the city needs. But at the same time, we don't want to lose funding. And so the kind of counter proposal is that if we support, we would like our cut and our percentage of the new MOU to remain the same, that we won't decrease in the funding that we were getting prior. Belleville 201 and 118 is the 2 larger districts of Belleville within TIF, and a lot more EAV than we have, but this encompasses us, Whiteside, 201, 118, Wolf Branch, Bell Valley, High Mountain, Signal Hill. So the 8 school districts are trying to work cooperatively in terms of individual MOUs of a kind of school approach of what we're looking for with TIF 3 before we come back to you guys. But I guess what I'm asking is if there's any objections to proceed forward with that, of trying to ensure that if we were to go through, or if the TIF were to be extended, that our cut wouldn't remain. So far, the other districts have all approved that, but I didn't want to say anything without talking to you guys first. They've had their board meetings, and this is ours where I want to at least bring it up to you guys. If there's questions that you want me to bring to the city, I certainly will. If in the March board meeting before the election, to see what people want to vote yay or nay, to have someone from the city come in and do a presentation. But I think if we can get what we had before and not funding, that money that we do get is better than nothing. And so if TIF 3 were to expire and we get nothing out of that, and they just redo it, more than likely what's going to happen 6 months or a year from now, instead of one big TIF, it's going to be several chunked TIFs, and we'll lose out on funding that way. So questions, thoughts?
So where are they taking the vote on the final, whether or not?
I think it'd be on the April vote.
On the election?
Yep.
So there could be a possibility that it could expire then, if the mayor does not get reelected.
Well, that's the other thing. He's on the ballot as well, but I think I think he's trying to tie his running to the TIF extension, but it's also not one or the other. Like the TIF is a city-driven economic avenue, not necessarily just the mayor.
So then my question would be, how much, if you know, dollar amount, how much does our district receive? And what we're asking for is a remaining fund.
So Diddy and I were trying to work on that again today. We have not, with I think the snow days or anything else, we have not heard a definitive number, because what I'm trying to get is what would it do, and that's something I can share out as soon as we do get it. We were hoping to get it today. We worked on it for a while, of what exact revenue we would see. I mean, in our head, it's a couple $100,000 of what we're looking at in terms of lost revenue. What the new percentages be is what we're trying to find out. I think our total TIF revenue, I think it has like 200. I'll get the exact numbers and send it out, and I can share it with the community as well, because that's something I want to get the definitive numbers before we put anything out in terms of supporting or not. But it would be lost revenue.
For sure, and that's why I think, like, as far as the community, as far as it push back, would be if we want to ask for constant, people obviously are going to look at the taxes, how it's going to affect their taxes, if it's going to increase, if we ask for obviously the same amount, which, I mean, obviously, county is what, of course, we want to keep the side.
Yeah, I don't blame them. Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying, like, as a voter or whatever, and for taxing purposes, because you're right about the economic development on the West End. We saw what was supposed to happen over in the Shrine area with.
What I,
and all that stuff.
in our meeting with the mayor, I did ask that. I said, I would like to know, is there planning development for the old St. Elizabeth's ground?
Right.
Is there planning development for the absence of what will be Linden Woods University?
Right.
I asked, will there be competing interest with the Shrine tip? Because if they're wanting to develop hotels in downtown Belleville, that's going to be hard for us to swallow, because there's supposed to be hotels down by the Shrine. So I wanted to ask, are there going to be competing interest? And in what will benefit Harmony 175 in terms of the use of TIF money? Because, and I was very open, 10 years ago and 7 years ago, we asked the city and railroad to fix our crossing down here. That we said, this is not acceptable, that everybody wanted to point fingers at everybody else in terms of whose responsibility. There was funding at that time through the Safe Schools program, or the Safe Routes to School program. And so that was brought up. And that could be something as we look at the MOUs or extending it with the schools, that I want that fixed. I don't know how it would get fixed, and I'm not an engineer, and I don't work with the railroad, but I hate that some of our kids, if it rains, they have to tread through 3 feet of water for 5 days because there's not appropriate drainage and a safe crossing. But the TIF itself, and this is where it's at, the TIF itself is very beneficial for the city of Belleville. I want it to also be beneficial for Harmony 175.
And
So,
I would
yeah.
agree with you on that, and as far as, like you said, negotiating what we can get out of it, especially if it's going to happen anyway. I mean, looking out for our district itself, instead of the railroad and 50 weeks, and then you have to just get a little more answers about, like,
Yep.
funding or anything, just presenting that to the community. Because I think when you answer those questions, I think people are more supportive than reactive. Well, I'm leaving because obviously there's no growth here, so why am I paying taxes here? So I do share the same.
Yep.
As far as that,
Yeah, we're trying to get those, we're trying to get more detailed numbers on what exactly the economic impact is. So we're working with it. I wish I had that tonight, so I apologize.
I know the one thing I would kind of like out of the city is for them to kind of give us a list of things they use the TIF already for.
They have that. And I think that's actually on their site. If not, I asked for I can ask for the PowerPoint that they gave us, and it had, I mean, they have not wasted the money. We'll say that there's been a lot of good projects they've used. It's all centered around downtown and what was Lindenwood before, a little bit on the east end, but it's not, I feel, been a direct outside of police and fire economic development for West End. So those are, but they have had some great projects there. I mean, it's been a good,
I'll have to go ahead and look that up, because I know like some of the things, if they are given to an organization like Lindenwood, well, they were here, but then they pulled out. So that kind of gets me a little bit worried when you are giving stuff to private entities and stuff like that. And kind of looking at, okay, how much have they done it? How many of the companies have stayed around? Have they actually grown, or they just stay there and we just paid for something for them, or what the case may be? So I have to look at that on myself.
so we're gonna look at getting more detailed numbers of the economic impact, and I'll try to get that list as well. And that's something if I get them, I can try to post on our website too, and just let people know, hey, if interested, go to the website page here. And we also have, we should on March 10th have a finance committee. We can talk more about it then as well.
That's the other thing I was going to make a recommendation, so we talk about it then.
Okay. So that's TIF 3. That's a work in progress. The state came out today, the State Assessment and Accountability, ISBE filed a few weeks ago for a waiver. They kind of reversed course on every child needs to be assessed and there should be accountability because that's tied in to federal dollars. And the state of Illinois is very reliant on federal dollars. The state reversed course and they did sign a waiver to send to the Department of Ed to waive testing and accountability for this spring. Problem is, the Department of Ed came back today and said, we are willing to waive the accountability portion, but not the assessment portion. So right now, as the thing stands, we still have to do our mandated state testing. So we talked to the principals about to have the schedules ready to go. I hope the Department of Ed changes because I think as schools are coming back, and again, we talked about it before, there are still thousands and thousands of students who have not been in school one single day this year. And so the last thing we really need to worry about is a state test versus social emotional needs and getting kids caught up over a week's period rather than assessment, but that's my soapbox. So right now, the accountability portion in terms of how they rank and score, and they're saying that could be waived, but not the testing. So
How are they going to use it?
great question. That's first thing I thought of there. They're still going to have to use it because they're going to try to identify for school improvement grants, for EBL. They're going to use it for different ways. I don't know how they're going to say there's not accountability. And I'm pretty sure the Belleville News Democrat is still going to post scores. So
That's right.
I don't know. It's just frustrating because I think our teachers' use of time is better served at working with kids and social emotional than a state test.
Have they said, I know last time I mentioned that Missouri is still requiring the state test as well. They're not using it for accountability, but they're still holding us to 95% participation.
Yeah.
Does Illinois have a participation?
They haven't answered that question, and Dana, if you've heard anything new on that either, but they haven't answered because that's what we all asked. There's no way schools are going to hit the 95% accountability threshold. And so when schools ask, how are we getting remote learners to come in, they don't have an answer.
Because we've asked and petitioned for 95% of the registered in-person learners, that's what we should be held accountable. They haven't come back, and I was just curious if,
Illinois doesn't have an answer either.
okay.
I have not heard anything either.
Yeah. Okay, so last thing on my docket to talk to you about is school pictures. The last couple of years, and I know that maybe you guys as parents or staff haven't seen the behind the scenes, but it's been a big struggle on those the past 3 years, and with our sponsors for like yearbook and school pictures. We are letting our contract with Life Touch expire after decades, I think, with them now. Just a lot of concerns and issues. We have interviewed, I think, 3 different companies now to look at, and we have narrowed it down to a company, and I'll leave this up here if you guys want to look at it later, but it's called Geskis Photography, who've really been branching into Illinois the last couple of years. High quality, a lot of digital access so that we don't have to have slips upon slips that can get lost and misplaced. You can actually do it from your phone, tablet, computer, getting proofs, 80 different backgrounds. Thank you. And it's cheaper. So the quality of pictures and packages is cheaper, what we can provide. The rep has been the most responsive rep.
I read on a 7:15 timer.
Right?
Must be, every time.
Happens every time.
But we were very, very impressed with this one. We tried a few local, the only other local groups are over in the Missouri side. There's one up in Highland who is not taking new clients, so we weren't able to meet with them. But this company really blew us away in terms of what they can offer. So I'll be moving forward with getting a contract settled, but we really, if you guys want to look through this, what they can do for sports pictures, and just the interaction with families and what it provides to families is pretty exciting. So it's stuff we've been asking LifeTouch for a few years to do, and this company has it, along with if we want signs or banners or posters, the labeling and marketing things, we can get that through them as well too. So it just seemed like a really good thing. Is there anything I needed to add in that?
No, we're excited. Very excited.
It's nice when a rep calls you back within an hour, and 2 days later too, some companies. Okay, so that is it for me.
Good day.
Yes.
Do you have any update on vaccines for the staff?
Oh, great call. Yes. So 1B is now wide open. So on last week was a bit interesting. I got a call. It was either on Tuesday during the snowstorm or when we were off at like 3:30. Hey, we have additional vaccines if you'd like to send some people. So principal sent stuff out. Hey, let people know. Wednesday, I got another call late. Hey, the vaccines are open again if you want to send any more out. And then it was another 8, 9 emails and calls later of, hey, there might be spots on Saturday. And then an hour later, after trying to get things together, they announced 1B was open for everyone. So the main mass vaccination at the fairgrounds is accepting appointments for all 1B educators, not just 65 and up. So, and I think everyone on our list who wanted a vaccine, I think is now had first round. And I will say a credit to a lot of them who wanted it. Before St. Clair opened it, they were driving to Mount Vernon, to Carbondale, and finding ways to get vaccinated. So a lot of our staff was able to do it before 1B opened in St. Clair.
As I know, my wife got in Madison, but they said they were only accepting people who actually worked in Madison.
Yeah. And then they reversed course about 2 days later and said that they'll start accepting people after the people who work there. They'll put them in the 1B group if they live there too. So, but otherwise, St. Clair's open. And so, I don't know if you guys saw the news, but I think they got 10,000 vaccines dropped this past week, which is why they were able to open it up. So, we're getting people.
And board
shots in the
members, 1B, board members,
That's a
1B.
good call.
I
You
mean,
want
you
to
can
sub?
try it.
I already had my shot.
We'll find a job.
Yeah, I'm overseas.
Okay. So that, yeah, so they are getting
Yeah.
the vaccine.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to principal reports. MG with Dr. Griffith.
Okay, just reporting out about a couple of celebration weeks that we've district-wide taken part in. The first one is the National Random Acts of Kindness Week. We're in our 4th and final day of that tomorrow. It's been really fun. We've had themed dress-up days. We've had the Kindness Challenge. We've had canned food drive. Just various other activities that have been taking part around the concept of kindness, and it's been great to see the kids and the staff and the administrators, everybody taking part in the kindness activities throughout our district. And then coming up is the Read Across America Week. We're going to be celebrating reading. That's coming up the first week of March, and we'll report on that at our next board meeting. Let you know how Read Across America Week is going. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Harmony, Ms. Luntz?
So, February is also Black History Month. As you walk up and down our hallways, you'll see in all 3 buildings that our teachers have done a phenomenal job of putting up bulletin boards. I know, right as you walk out of here, Ms. Sparks and Ms. Peppers have one where you can scan QR codes and it will bring bring up famous historical figures. Pre-K through 8th grade kids are doing speeches and projects and presentations. Our librarians are handing out bookmarks with different historical facts on them, and there are displays in both libraries, which is kind of a fun way to tie all of that together. The other thing I wanted to report out on is sports are back. So we had our volleyball tryouts, and we have some volleyball coaches here. But volleyball has started, and we are doing temperature checks, so all of the coaches have their own thermometers. They are monitoring as people come in and kind of going through the checklist with everybody to make sure that we are following all of those protocols. And a really cool thing this year is all of the games are now streamed. So if you want to, I know like for MG, whenever we have them here, we'll stream them on our MG Facebook page. So if you'd like to catch a volleyball game, maybe you don't want to leave your house, you can now stream them live.
Okay, Ellis, Ms. Kramer.
Sure. The last shipment of Chromebooks came at a perfect timing after waiting a year. But we were able to use those Chromebooks and kind of pass down the Chromebooks. MG and her team took most of the new ones, and then Ellis took the old ones, so that we were almost one-to-one first grade up with Chromebooks. But I say it came just in time because we experienced our first snow day, which is not a snow day anymore, it's a remote learning day, and we were very well prepared. Every student, or every parent who replied to the survey to say they needed a Chromebook or a hotspot at home, we were able to make sure that a Chromebook now goes home with that child every day, and that that family has a hotspot at their house. So every child, pre-K all the way up, if they requested a Chromebook, they keep the Chromebooks in their book bag for any emergency, not even just snow. So those Chromebooks are coming back and forth with those students. So at any point, we had a water main break or any other emergency, all of our students have the technology they need to join our teachers. Overall, very positive feedback from both families as well as teachers on the overall amount of students who did attend virtually. Us three are working on a survey to send out to our parents to get good parent input so that we know where we need to adjust as well. We'll be surveying our teachers through our committees as well. But overall, super positive, and we were very well prepared. Kudos to us. I was very happy with our rollout of the plan.
To piggyback off that, when she said it's not our last shipment, so it was our last shipment received, but we still have 300 Chromebooks outstanding. They're supposed to come in, but I do want to give kudos to our teachers and staff because the reason it worked is not because our kids and stuff had Chromebooks, they were very well prepared, the lessons that go out, the interaction engagement, so kudos to our teachers and staff for making that successful. We want to do the survey because we've talked about it before. If there was a time where an e-learning or remote was going to work with snow days, it would be this year because we've had so many periods of remote learning and scheduling. So we at least want to see if it was a disaster, well, we would know moving forward. It's probably not something we want to look into, but it went very smooth. And so what we want to do is kind of send a survey out, get an idea of what can be improved, was it successful, and have that information that as we move forward into the next school year, do we want to have an e-learning plan? Because I don't think they're going to extend the remote learning day option. We will need to go through the official e-learning plan that is ROE and state approved. There's a time, like 60 days, I think you have to have public hearings. So those are things we want to start doing pretty soon, but we want to have it ready for July and August before we start school. So more information to come on remote learning and e-learning.
One thing we may want to do is poll the parents and find out what their feelings are on that as well. Because I was kind of surprised to know, again, it's off my wife's district, that they got several complaints that they didn't have a snow day. And then some parents are saying it's like they wanted the kids to have it.
Yeah, it's one of those, and it's tough too because the timing of it, and we talked about it. In the middle of winter when you're going through it, it would be really nice to have those snow days, but then people are upset when it's after Memorial Day in late May or June, like, oh, I wish we had those days back. Like it's a mindset of where you are at the time. And again, this is not necessarily saying that this is what we're doing moving forward, but it was a nice opportunity to really pilot and reflect, does this work? And early indications are that it was pretty successful. So it's definitely things we can work on and improve, and I think it's nice that we can have a consistent plan for the end of the year for parents as well. So
I agree with all of that, it
Yeah.
just kind of look
No,
at
I-
it, it really doesn't hurt us. to
I
at
think
least
most
ask
of
the
Madison
parents.
County chose not to do remote days.
What's that?
I think most of Madison County chose not to use remote days
Yeah.
or making them up.
So, anyway, I said it just figured, since we got the time, we might as well just try to send out a poll. No, we don't usually get very
Yeah,
many.
we can put
but-
that in part of our, I think it's already in there. Yeah.
Yeah, but at least that way it lets us kind of get a feeling and we can kind of make our call off of that too.
Yep, absolutely.
And Mr. D,
Yes.
is the E-Plan only for emergency days, like snow days, or are we talking about an actual option for children to?
No, it's for emergency days.
That's
So it'd be in
what I
lieu of
thought. I wanted to make
emergency
sure.
days. Now, that's going to be a separate discussion moving forward, though, that we don't know right now.
Yeah, because there are virtual programs in other schools.
There were, that was, I think, the original intent behind e-learning was especially for high schools to provide e-learning options for advanced placement courses or other courses that their school just didn't have the opportunity for. But the option for remote learning is something that we'll need to keep an eye on if the state makes us continue having a remote option into next school year. That's something we've started having discussions on too.
Okay, so we do not have any committee reports. We didn't meet in February, but as Mr. Dietz just said, we will plan March 10th. And we'll find out if all three committees need to meet, but at a minimum, finance will have a meeting.
Yeah, we'll probably have finance, public relations, and building and grounds, just to touch base. Policy committee, the state, I think, felt bad for having so many different policy meetings, so sent us the Press 107 update, but it wasn't an update. They're like, hey, we're giving you this period off, and we'll come back in June or July. So we won't have policy for a little while, but we should have the other three.
We won't complain. That will be good. Okay. So comments by board members. Rob, would you like to start?
I really don't have anything this month.
Okay. Shannon?
I just have one comment or question. January 6th, we know what happened at the Capitol. How was that addressed to the students, or was that brought up in the classroom? Give them an explanation on what?
I don't know if it was, I mean, it might have been in some ways, but we were in remote learning
Yeah.
through,
Okay.
so I don't know if it was brought up in individual discussions or not. That's something that they can have conversations with, but,
Because, when things like that happen,
yeah.
each household has got, and there was history
Yeah.
right in here in front of us. So some kind of way that has to be addressed. And the best place, that's why we have education, that's why we have schools, to put that in the sort of the main line, not taking a side, just, some of the kids, what happened? They're just looking at something and then what happened? Does that compare to this riot, that riot, or whatever? It needs to be put in this right perspective. Go ahead.
And I would say, teachers did approach, we did talk to teachers, under even Mr. D's guidance, that's a teachable moment.
Yeah.
And we don't want to not have that teachable moment, especially if it's brought up in the classroom. There's not any direct curriculum that was really set on it, but if it was brought up, teachers felt confident that they could address it and have that conversation. But as far as how many teachers or how many conversations, I don't know, but I did have many conversations with teachers about the appropriateness of it and making sure that they knew that they could teach about it.
Yeah, even if you didn't do it immediately,
Yeah.
that's something that's going to have to be developed with the staff. And I would suggest that that's what happens first, before we say, this is the direction we're going to take and find out, more. We definitely don't want to take it from the news. We want to, have it in education. But that's it. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Nate. Mandy, do you have anything?
I heard from a little birdie that Dr. Griffin got the River Street Award last month, so congratulations on that. I didn't know if that was said in the meeting or not, but if it was, congratulations again. Thank you. So I actually had the privilege to talk to her students, some alumni, and some current students of this district, and I want to thank them and their parents for just allowing them to speak to me and feel comfortable 10 years. I was very excited to watch the streaming of the volleyball. That was really cool to catch it into the TV and watch the volleyball. And question about sports. I know that they usually cheer at basketball, which was not. But what about cheerleading? Like, are they able to practice and just not go to games? Like, what's the status on
Yes,
cheer?
they can still have cheer. It has to be non-contact, maintain a distance mask, so they can do, but if they show up at games, they have to be 30 feet from the playing surface, still spread out so many feet apart, and do count towards the 50-person. Well, that's where like a lot of the schools in our feeder district were like 30 feet from the thing. Like, do they have to like get a balcony in the rafters? Like, how does it work?
Go ahead and cheer the lot, will you?
So it was something I've talked to Mr. Bauer about, of how could it look and what could we do.
Okay.
And I will say sports is still a work in progress, that we're happy to get volleyball back now. We're trying to I won't say baby steps, but make sure we're doing it safely.
Yep.
But as the seasons go on, and if we can get basketball back in March, look at other opportunities where it's not just live streaming. If we can hand out tickets or other ways of getting it safely done under that 50-person minimum, we'll try. But yeah, it's just nice to let them do something. And I know even with Scholar Bowl, there's not going to be Scholar Bowl competitions like they were, but trying to find something where they can face off versus the teachers or staff, but just still have fun with it and get engaged. So
Yeah.
we're trying to find different avenues.
That's cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I just, again, to all of the staff and admin team, I am so excited with everything that we've been able to do. It is really great to see how seamlessly we went into remote snow day and then back to in-person. I think that just shows how innovative you all have been, and thank you for everything that you're continuing to do. I know that this is a heavy year in a lot of ways, and what's going on outside of our building across the country definitely makes your job much more difficult in having those conversations, and some of those even remotely. So thank you. I'm very, very happy to be a part of this district with all of you. So. Okay, moving on. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes approval of minutes, payroll, and bills, treasurer's report, and destruction of closed session audio.
So moved.
Say,
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Keys?
Yes.
Mrs. Lopez? Mrs. Frischbacher, yes. Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Douglas?
Yes.
I need a motion to approve the 2021-22 school calendar as presented.
So moved.
second,
Any discussion?
Yeah, if you have a child at Belleville West, this calendar will look very, very familiar. The big noticeable change in this coming year's calendar that we have not had, at least in the years haven't been here now, 11, is the week prior to Easter is a full week off. We've always had the Thursday, Friday, and Monday. This will be the week prior to Easter, which will really give, in essence, from the Friday beforehand all the way through the next week and weekend. So it extends a break. We were afforded that opportunity within the calendar this year because the way the dates fell, it was only a 2-day difference before Memorial Day, if we don't use any days, and then after Memorial Day of either a Wednesday or a Friday dismissal. So talking with the calendar committee, they put a survey out to the teaching staff to let them kind of vote on it. I think it sounded like they told me it's pretty overwhelming of the full week, so we will have a full week. So that will be exciting. And again, this calendar is, I'm pretty sure, identical to 201's. So we'll be very much in line.
kids are gonna hate that because it's a COVID year, doesn't help them along. But
Well,
we
I hope
all-
by March and April of 2022.
Well,
Yeah, it's
we'll
for
be
next
all right.
Yeah, for next year, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
they'll love
it's
it.
for next year's calendar.
Yeah, next year, right, they'll love that.
Okay, any more discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Lopez? Yes. Mrs. Frischbacher, yes. Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Douglas?
Yes.
Mrs. Keys?
Yes. I need a motion to approve the 2021 RIF list as presented, and Dave did send out an updated version to all of us when we got here.
So moved.
Second,
Any discussion?
foresee having to use it, but we have to legally have it by law. Legally have it. Redundant, sorry.
Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Kirschbacher, yes. Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Douglas?
Yes.
Mrs. Keys?
Yes.
Mrs. Lopez?
Yes.
I need a motion to approve the MOU with the Harmony Teachers Union Local 4131 concerning the extension of COVID-related emergency paid sick leave.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Douglas?
Yes.
Mrs. Keys?
Yes.
Mrs. Lopez? Mrs. Kirschbacher, yes.
I need a motion to approve the MOU with the Harmony Teachers Union Local 4131 concerning an amendment to the teacher evaluation language for the 2020-2021 and 2021-2022 school years.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Dr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Douglas? Mrs. Keys?
Yes.
Mrs. Lopez? Mrs. Kirschbacher, yes. Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Okay. Any building use requests? Okay. Items for consideration, old business.
I didn't have anything.
New business, so the handbook and fees for 2021, 2022.
Yeah, I don't see any reason to change anything, keep the fee schedule as is. There's a copy of what it currently is. It's been a while since we've changed or increased. We've shifted a few things around for the tech fee, but I would like to see the fees remain as is with no increase for next year.
Can I ask a really silly
Yeah.
question? Do they really use those planners?
Yeah, I think some really do. And it is, I think as a former junior high teacher myself and just at the intermediate, late elementary through to learning organization is a pretty big skill. Do all of them use it effectively like the kids use it? No, but I think it's good for our teachers to use as a resource. And I will say this, it provides students no excuse when they say after every period, hey, put this in, or here's what we're doing, and have a week planned out when the kids don't do it. It can be a good organizational tool for them to use.
I personally don't think, and I have started charging my children that fee because they don't.
There you go.
And their teachers can attest. Many of them have been on a signature plan.
Okay. And then the polling location discussion, the MG Gym.
Yeah, this coming April is the last approved date for MG Junior High to be a polling location. If you wish the district to continue being a polling location, they will need to fill out a new request for building use, list out the upcoming elections. I think it's, Renee and I tried looking into it, we couldn't find a law for it, it's a statutory for so many years, but for our setup, it's not near as big of impact as other schools where they have to close down the school, that we are able to keep things self-contained with a different parking lot. Is it a pain? Yeah, it is. Does it provide opportunities for a potential safety risk? I'd say this past year highlights, yeah, we'll disinfect and deep clean and all that as we need to, but in a year where we're not supposed to have any visitors in the building, our building is open for any election. So I know a couple other school districts who are wanting to pull from being a voting site. For us, we can keep it self-contained. We can even put the gym tarp down, go in a separate entrance, lock the mid-breezeway doors if we have to, so we can keep it contained. But I at least wanted to bring up to you, do you want me to reach out to St. Clair and say that we wish to not be a voting place in the future, or to continue? It really is a board-approved decision. We didn't start becoming a polling place until I think 4 years ago. So,
Why did we become one?
because they said it was going to be a very contentious election. Well, how long has it been? 8 years, maybe? 4 years.
I think
No,
St. Matthew stopped being one, so I don't know.
and they needed one, and I think it was the year that, it was the 26th, they realized it was going to be a hotly contested election, and turnout was going to be big. And so they asked, and Dr. Leonard and the board approved, I guess it'd be 8 different dates, and the last one comes up this April of 21. So if you want me to reach out and say, find a new place, we have another month, I guess we can think about it until, but I just need to let them know at some point, they either need to resubmit a request for us to be in place, or I say, sorry, we're not going to be with us.
For you that were on the board before, do you
What was
remember
that?
this or have a thought about it?
Say that again, I couldn't hear you.
So were you on the board when?
No,
Okay.
not during that one. So, it's been at least over 4 years since that happened, so.
It was before the 2016 one. Yeah, so it's 5, we're going on 5-something years now.
It was in 2016.
The
Well, I
only
saw
thing
the
I can
paper.
kind of see is if we don't do it, and then they start putting more people into one polling place, and then turn that could be longer lines. And at least the one thing I like out of mine is it's so few people, or so few polling groups and stuff like that, that where I'm at, I think the worst I've ever had is had like 5 people in front of me, and that was during the busiest one, and it's like the majority of them I just walk in, so. I don't know how it is here, but that's one thing we kind of look at too, is they would probably just start combining them if we say no.
I don't know how it is.
It's-
I go out there with Jeeps.
Yeah, I mean, I would say our PE doesn't get use of the full gym, but if it's nice in April or, November, they can go outside. We do have to shut down at least half the gym. We would have shut down everything in that area for April, we will.
We won't have students in the building.
We do.
We do.
So that's the, I guess, the issue in a time, when the past couple of years when we were looking at student safety and other things and limiting visitors, we host a large number of visitors. Granted, it's only one day, and it's for a good democratic cause, but are schools the appropriate places? And again, ours is a different setup because it's easier for us to manage it. For a lot of schools, they have to shut down for the whole day.
How many polling stations do they have set up usually?
Oh,
Or not precincts, but like actual polling, things that somebody can go up to?
I think it just depends on what election it is. If it's a presidential one, they had a lot. If it's a midterm where turnout's not going to be as good, maybe like 8 to 10. But I've seen, I think in that last November, I think it was packed around the gym.
Okay.
I mean, they spread them out because of safety issues, but they had it all the way around the gym. I don't know if you guys remember, we were, I don't know, I haven't got in there and counted.
I just know like where mine is, it's normally, they have 4 or 5 actual stations, and to tell you the truth, the entire space that they use is less than what we're using now for our board meeting. So it's like if it was somehow that small, then maybe we could say, hey, just use
The
the
lobby.
portion of it, and then that way we can lock those doors hopefully going into the gym, and we can still use the full gym if that was the case.
Do you want to think about it some?
I didn't see you. Go ahead. What are the possibilities of using a remote learning day?
Well, that would depend, if we have that plan, I don't know. I mean, it's something we could certainly look at.
Yeah.
Again, for us, I think it's a pain, but it's not something we haven't done the last several years. It is a pain, I would just be more, the potential of any safety, or like I think COVID highlights, we're not supposed to have people in.
Right.
But I also don't want to turn away being a service to the community as a voting place either.
Right, and that's kind of, like, I wonder how many people it would impact, I wonder if they could readily find a different place. Like, I ask questions about that, like.
We can
you
reach
know,
out and see what other
Would it
options
go
there is.
to increasing numbers at other polling sites, or would they be able to go someplace else? Because I too would hate to
Well,
see
so
us negatively impact people's ability to vote.
Yeah, and I think the reasons we need to consider, and not to speak for our churches, but I think a lot of the reasons schools are wanting that are the same reasons all the churches started backing out too. Exposure within the, certainly say, think about it more. We don't have to make a decision tonight. I just wanted to bring it up to talk about and have discussion and think about. And I'll try to get more information, and Renee and I will try to get some more information from the county on how many people are registered to this location and would impact. Do they have other sites available? But not everybody's
I don't have a problem with it.
not everybody's knocking down the county's doors to be a voting site.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
So it is my voting site.
Yeah.
You can tell us all.
Well, you should decide.
No, there's Acuna Peace is the nearest other one. I do know when I vote, I go early because I don't like dealing with massive amounts of people and lines. So I know when I come in, it's the last election, I think they did go all the way back, but it was just one row and then maybe like a couple in between. But even the time that I went, it wasn't so packed, there wasn't a line to just walk in. It literally less than 5 minutes and out, there's 4 precincts. I know mine, I think 4 precincts, 2 and 8, which is mobile, not mobile. I don't know what the other 2 are, but they do just have like some stuff that you have that back to people and they're really spread out and it's not really, I don't think it's chaotic. I've gone in the morning, I've gone late in the evening. I haven't really gone in the afternoon time, but it seems pretty, whoever they have working the whole, they seem okay with this. I get the whole security stuff, the safety issue and everything, they pretty safe.
Yeah, it's pretty well run. They do a very good job of running it. I just wanted to bring it up before. we
To me,
brought
either
it in.
way, doesn't really
Yeah,
matter.
and I just remembered, I'm like, why can't I remember that day? It was a mandated holiday this year. That's why I can't remember the day, because they didn't let us have school.
Yeah,
So,
and then, I know this last election, there was a huge turnout because of what was going on. But I know like the school board and like this upcoming local election, you're not gonna see the same
Yeah.
numbers as you do on the big election. So this is something to look into, but like I said,
Yeah.
sometimes people are really, I'm a voting place, so I gotta go to the polling place.
okay. We'll try to get more information for you guys, and we'll talk about it again in March. Yes? Oh, okay, that's right, okay. Yeah.
And then I guess I got one thing, we're done with that. One thing I started looking at was like some of our bank statements. And I noticed, and I know we talked about this a little bit before, but I saw on our interest rate on our main account at least, it's relatively low. And then I ended up looking around and I found out that one of the banks in the area, they are offering basically 7.5 times the interest rate on that. And then based upon what our current bank statement is that I have today, that would mean that we average roughly that same balance, be like $20,000.
You talking about setting up an entire new bank for our primary accounts?
Yeah, as a possibility, but for $20,000 a year,
Yeah,
that
but
would be
let's talk about that. I mean, we're
Yeah.
open to anything. But when you start talking about switching your primary account, there's a lot that goes into that.
right. And that's what I understand. It's like if it was a small amount, that would be
Yeah.
different. But this is 7.5 times the interest rate if we ended
Did
up
they
doing
say
it.
how long for?
It's
Because
been
it's
like
like a
that.
6-month introductory rate.
No, it's no introductory. It's the way that they've had it for quite some
Yeah,
time.
send it to me, we'll look at it.
And like I said, if you want to, I can try to get a hold of the people, and so I'd ask if we can get them on maybe like a Zoom call during our,
Yeah, if you send me the
Well,
bank, then we'll look into it and see if we can
Okay.
set it up for that.
I'll get you the information on it,
Okay.
but I at least wanted to bring it up to the board itself to see if it's something that the board was also kind of interested in or something along that line. Because like I said, when I saw that the interest rate was that much more, in fact, I just reached out to them and said, hey, would a school district apply to this specific account? And they basically said yes, that they would fall under that exact same account, we would get the same rate, everything else.
Yeah, without knowing more about it, it's hard to understand not having a limited period for it, because you can't have 7 times market rate and make money as a bank. So that'd be my only concern, is how are they handling the funds, or is it specific? But I'm willing to, we have 3 different money markets set up right now to try to capitalize. If we have to look into it for that, and it's not limited, I think we'd be very excited to explore it, but we just want to make sure it is worth it, because
Yeah.
switching primary accounts is a huge huge undertaking.
Yep,
Okay. Perfect, we'll look into that then. Thank you.
no problem.
Anything else? Okay, public and employee comments. Nothing? No? Okay. So we have upcoming board activities, so as we talked about earlier, this weekend, February 27th at 9 a.m. I hope you are all still able to make it. That's where we'll talk about our district goals. So we will set our goals for next year, and then we will have the superintendent evaluation immediately following that. And then we will also look at that rubric that Rob and I had worked on over last year to make sure that when we reset these new goals, that we get that done as well, so that going into the next year, we're ready to go. It's just a plug-in. And then also that way, next week, Dave knows these are his goals, this is what the rubric is going to look like, and he can know exactly how he will be evaluated from day one, as opposed to the summer. It was late
Right.
summer, early fall this year, to give him
And that way it gets
Better
an
guidance.
entire year to meet its goals instead of, like I said, half a year.
Yep, I think we said this last time. We'll talk then about how any impact, like the teachers' evaluations are being delayed. Are we going to speak about how anything related to task scores and things will impact the superintendent evaluation? We'll talk about that Saturday.
Yeah, so I think there were two, so, we had our main goals, we've got those like action items, and I think there were at least two that we kind of put on pause this year because of COVID.
That's what I thought.
So yes, that is built into the rubric, and I will send that out probably tomorrow. I will resend those rubrics, and then that kind of score sheet, just so that way we can refresh our memories. I'll attach the goals to it too, just so that way we've got one nice email ready to go in preparation for Saturday. Will we can be in the boardroom?
Yeah.
With the principals and everything?
No, it's going to be we're going to set up in the MG cafeteria.
Okay.
We'll have tables and we'll get the comfy
MG
chairs.
cafeteria.
MG cafeteria.
Yes, okay, so MG cafeteria is where we'll be, so that way we will have enough space for all of us. And it'll be nice because we'll have nice big tables to work with.
Will the doors be open by the,
Yeah, so that side door that goes outside, we can have, there's a single door that goes into the gym. You guys can come in through there. Or in the cafeteria.
I did it.
okay,
last
through
night.
that one?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
side door.
There's that
They
side door
usually
right
for,
on the
like,
corner.
Loading the pizzas and stuff like that? Okay.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, what's that?
Okay, so on Saturday, we are going to have
Lock me out.
our meeting over there at the MG cafeteria. So like right by where we park, instead of going to the superintendent's door,
Go to the left.
So we're
Yeah,
going
one
to
door.
the side door of the cafeteria.
side door.
You can come in either door.
cafeteria.
We'll have them both stationed.
All right.
Every time.
We won't lock you out.
I'll
Worst
stand
cut
out
the
there
worst
with a
connection
sign,
window.
with progressive arrows.
Okay. I'll blow my horn.
We will find you. We'll bring you in this Saturday. Very
So I would say
excited.
for the main goal setting, we can all spread out, because we'll have the admin team there as well. But then during the evaluation process, if you guys would like to go into the boardroom, work can be closed. That'll give more privacy that way.
Okay. So then in March, we will approve the school and latchkey fee schedules for 2020, 2022, 2021, 22. In April, we will approve the parent handbook for 2021, 22, possibly earlier. In May, we will set amended budget hearing date if necessary, approve the amended school calendar for 2020, 2021, and approve Board of Education meeting dates for 2021, 2022. And then we will, as we progress in this semester, we'll find out what our plans are for 8th grade promotion ceremony, what that will look
I
like.
know Dr. Rivers has a little committee he's getting together, so we'll finalize. We've got to work with Belleville West on what graduation dates or makeup dates they might have, so we can plan around Belleville West and we'll set dates. Typically, we have it the week before we release, but with so many days that we missed in time, we're looking at a promotion date the same week of dismissal this year, to give as many days as possible.
And then also we will talk with Renee too of the school, when people retire. We have a
Oh, retirement
event.
ceremony.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We can do that
Yeah.
this year. I think that would look like. Although I don't know that we
But
could.
if we're going to do it, I have to rent something now.
I don't know that we could, but I don't know.
We'll work on it this week. I'll touch base with 4204 and see if they can't rent, or if they can't at least reserve the hall for us, they will, with no down payment lost, and we'll get that organized in the event that we can, but it'll be hard doing it with a big group this year.
Yeah. But we might be able to think of something
Yeah.
special remotely. Get
Yeah,
that together.
I'd love to get the teachers input. They're come up with creative ideas anyway, so
We did
get some ideas on
things last year. Videos.
virtual dances.
There's been a lot of dress up coming out of kindergarten this year, so I feel like we can use that.
Yeah, we'll look into it.
Okay. I need a motion to enter into closed session for the purpose of appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, specific individuals who serve as independent contractors in an educational setting, or as specific volunteers of the district or legal counsel for the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee, a specific individual who serves as an independent contractor in an educational setting, a volunteer of the district, or against legal counsel for the district to determine its validity. However, a meeting to consider an increase in compensation to a specific employee of a public body that is subject to the Local Government Wage Increase and Transparency Act may not be closed and shall be open to the public and posted and held in accordance with this act.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Dr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Douglas? Yes. Mrs. Keys?
Yes?
Mrs. Lopez? Mrs. Bushbacher, yes. Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Okay, so we will have items for action as a result of closed session. I don't know how long that will be. You will certainly be able to hang out, and we would wave a flag out the door whenever it would be time to come back in if you wanted to stick around. Otherwise, how many?
For about 20, 30 minutes.
We're talkers, so maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Do you need anything for your notes? No more roll calls. We're good to go. Yep. and your motions. Okay. I need a motion to accept the resignation of MG junior high teacher Angie Surrey.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Dr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Douglas?
Yes.
Mrs. Keys?
Yes.
Mrs. Lopez? Mrs. Bushbacher, yes. Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Okay. I need a motion to dismiss and not renew a first-year probationary teacher, Jessica Gompers, at the end of the 2020-2021 school term and not re-employ her for the 2021-2022 school term.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Douglas?
Yes.
Mrs. Keys?
Yes.
Mrs. Lopez? Mrs. Bushbacher, yes. Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Anderson?
Yes.
I need a motion to accept the resignation of at-will playground monitor Tiffany Clark as of January 26, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Keys?
Yes.
Mrs. Lopez? Mrs. Bushbacher, yes. Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Douglas?
Yes.
I need a motion to hire at-will bus driver Shanita Lockett effective immediately.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Lopez? Mrs. Bushbacher, yes. Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Douglas? Yes. Mrs. Keys?
Yes. I need a motion to approve a separation agreement with non-certified custodian Vicki Russellberg.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Bushbacher, yes. Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Douglas?
Yes.
Mrs. Keys?
Yes.
Mrs. Lopez?
I need a motion to approve an addendum to Dr. John Griffith's contract effective for the 2021-2022 school year.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Roll call.
Dr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Douglas?
Yes.
Mrs. Keys?
Yes.
Mrs. Lopez? Mrs. Furchbacher, yes. Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Okay. Before we adjourn, I forgot to bring this up earlier, but Rob, Mandy, Rochelle, and I would like for us to get started looking for board replacements because we will for sure, based on the ballot, we will have 2 openings, and then depending on how the ballots go. So I was going to ask that Dave go ahead and post those openings now in March so that we can move forward interviewing so that in April we don't have holes that then we're trying to patch in later. So that it would just be the same appointment system. They would not be appointed until April, but we would at least know who's interested and we could have those interviews beforehand. So that way in April, when the whole new board can be seated at once, was what I was thinking. Do you have any thoughts or ideas or problems with that?
Do I have to get a certain number of votes?
No.
No, because you
Yes.
got the 50 in the first place, right?
2,000.
I don't think there'll be that many people voting.
You might not be my favorite.
But I will say after I can't remember what month it is, but I said we were going to be posting for board candidates. We did get 3 people who said they were interested. I gave them the ISB website. Here's what it entails. Here's kind of the time commitment. We'll be posting for it probably in early March or late February. So look for that. We had 3 people who did say they were interested. 2 of them I know well. One we were trying to search, no idea. No kids in the district, just a citizen who said they're interested. So we'll see.
And I thought that because Rochelle is on the ballot, that she could join us, because we know that she'd be with us, so.
Yeah. The only thing, and that may be something for our attorney to bring up, I thought there was always something popping up saying that the opening had to be there.
I would have to check statutory language.
What's up?
I'll have to check the statute because there is specific time requirements, and I'll take a look and make sure you can have interviews early.
I checked with Barney.
Did you
He
check with
said,
Barney?
yes,
Okay.
we can. We can
Whatever
hold
Barney
interviews
says.
because you're not appointing anybody. They won't get appointed until that April board meeting. After the current board dissolved, if we already have people knowing there's going to be spots, we can do interviews to see who the board would want for the replacements so they can be appointed on April's docket and not have to wait.
And off
Yeah.
the top of my head, I just,
And all I remember is there was some talk at some point where it was saying that we couldn't even post it or something until there was the actual opening. I know we kind of done things different throughout the
Well,
year.
we'll check again, but I did.
Yeah, if
because
you
yes,
check with
I asked-
Barney, then I'm okay.
Yeah, I asked Barney after the last board meeting when we talked about it.
I'll check.
And I'm fine if that, if Barney came up and said that that's good, then
Okay.
I'm not
Yep, we'll look
doing
into it.
anything about it. I just wanted to make sure we were following everything that we had to.
Yeah, I think that,
Didn't we already say last time that we were already past the point of anyone being able to join the ballot?
right, so the ballot is now
That is
closed. That's done. But we do, like, you have that time frame from the time of an opening and when you have to replace it. And I just, I want to, and so I didn't want us scrambling. I wanted us to have enough time to talk to our community members to see if they would be interested in interviewing with us for the board, so that we aren't shorthanded at any meeting, or that we would end up in some situation where the county appoints, because if we don't, they step in. And so I just thought if we could prepare, then we would just have more time to talk and have that figured out. But if it is able to move forward, the 3 of you, do you want to, so then I thought we could actually start interviewing in March, or we could wait until April after the election, but before the next April meeting. It's up to you.
Yeah,
I'd say
you'll have
give-
time in April.
Yeah, I'd say give the people the time, and then maybe if we had to, just throw a quick special board meeting in
'Cause I-
between the election and
Yeah.
the actual one, and then we can actually do the interviews at that point.
So then that way we would know, or, you know, and we could let them know, you know, who would be seated to show up that night and have other
Yeah.
preparation.
What's the date of the April? I mean, I agree.
April 20 something.
I agree with waiting until after the election. But scoping for the actual interview.
Yeah, so,
April 26th.
Thank you.
And when's the election?
April 6th.
April 6th?
So you mean you
You
hypothetically could,
may have to have a special for that then too. I thought it was 21 days after.
no, we're good,
We
we've
did check.
checked all the time frames.
we
Okay.
could check that.
You could also, if you wanted, with the 29th of March, rather than having a special board meeting, you could hold interviews prior to the regular board meeting on the 29th of March as well.
So if we had 4 people interested, we could do 2 up, we could show up, the 4 of us would be here at 5 and interview up until 7 if we wanted. Things to think about, we don't have to decide now, but I just wanted to kind of plant that as, are you interested in that plan?
I'm a big problem with stuff. I just want to try to give as many people the opportunity, so.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, are you just publishing that on our website, or we publish something via the DMV too?
We'll do the same process we've always done.
Yeah,
for
usually
board openings.
I send out an email blast, it'll be published on the website, and then we post the last ones on all of our Facebook accounts too, like the social media and Facebook, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I get residents that don't, their children are older, and they don't really have any business going to our website, or any Facebook pages, or anything like that. They're never aware that, oh, yeah. So, just trying to incorporate them, like, if they're reading the D&D, or if they're going to other applications, something where you can get more. But I don't know where, whatever, we have going on. Yeah, everyone's taking.
All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Dr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Douglas?
Yes.
Mrs. Keys?
Yes.
Mrs. Lopez? Mrs. Kirschbacher, yes. Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Okay, we are adjourned at 8.